Good morning and welcome to the Standing Committee's meeting for Wednesday, May 8th, 2024. All council meetings will be live streamed on the city's website. For our guest speakers who join us at the table, please do not turn your microphones off. Our first order of business is roll call. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Mr. Charland.
Here.
Mr. Coghill. Ms. Gross. Mr. Lavelle.
Here.
Mr. Mosley. Mrs. Cal Smith. Ms. Warwick.
Here.
Mr. Wilson.
Here.
Ms. Strasburger, Chair.
Here.
5 members present.
Thank you. Our next order of business is public comment. I would like to remind all speakers that the rules of council state that comments are limited to matters of concern, official action, or deliberation which are or may be before City Council. Profanity will not be permitted. Please state your name and neighborhood for the record. You will have 3 minutes to speak. And we have, seeing no registered speakers, any speakers that would like to approach the podium are welcome to do so.
Hello, everyone. Michael Bonniwell, representing, I guess, the city of Pittsburgh. But I'd just like to bring up a couple things. I was talking to a man named Thunderwolf this morning, and he's getting evicted from his home, even though James Fife, the one who was advertising for people who are sick, disabled, to go into his facility, the man had a heart attack and requested a jury trial, and he's trying trickery. You can't advertise to these disabled veterans when you don't have anybody on your medical staff. And there's a lot of other things that are kind of concerning. I'm still getting the ropes here in the city of Pittsburgh, but I, under no circumstance, want to defund the police. But what I think that we should do with the police thing that we have, or issues, is back in the days and different time frames, we had police that were from those neighborhoods. Like people in the hillside, have a police officer that was born in the hillside and patrol the hillside. Stop having, people who aren't from the neighborhood, who don't know the neighborhood, police those areas. We need people from those areas to be part of that community because they know how that community works. Because as one of the community, we serve the people, and we need to do what's equitable by the people. And what we can do for the people is be at one with them, because they pay your salary and they don't pay my salary. I'm a free person. But I mean, here in the city of Pittsburgh, there's so much to be done, but you guys are really trying hard. I really like the block by block, and the garbage and stuff is starting to see a different Pittsburgh. But we as Action, I'm going to try to speak to City Council, and I'm going to see what we can do together with my mind and your guys' mind to help the city be greater than it already is. We need restoration instead of new buildings and stuff. I don't really know. I didn't really prepare much today, but I just wanted to let my voice be heard, because one voice can change the world. You just got to believe. Have a good day.
Thank you. Are there any further speakers? Any further speakers? There being no further speakers, we will now move on to our standing committee's agenda. And our first committee is the Finance and Law Committee, chaired by myself, and deferred paper Bill 400.
Bill 400, resolution providing for the creation of the Equitable Development Trust Fund and setting conditions for the deposit and expenditures of such funds. This fund is to be used to address community goals, including but not limited to workforce development and community reinvestment.
Can I get a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Well, I'll just say that I know that we held this bill for 1 week. I understand that city planning did send out some of the draft guidelines, and I appreciate those who read the guidelines and took the time to speak with planning, and just know that I stand with council members who would like to ensure that we take periodic checkbacks and lookbacks to this fund to make sure that it's accomplishing the goals that we set out to, at least in the Oakland plan, and as this zoning district expands potentially to other neighborhoods in the city, because we're all looking to achieve the same thing, which is ensuring that development is truly beneficial for the community that it's occurring in addition to those who are going to be housed in the development, and the developers themselves. So with that, all those in favor of Bill 400, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Affirmative recommendation. Thank you. That moves us on to new papers, Bill 419.
Bill 419, resolution authorizing the issuance of a warrant in favor of Demira Atkins in an amount not to exceed $6,087.06 over 1 year in full and final settlement of a claim for damage to her vehicle from an accident with the City Emergency Services vehicle on December 29th, 2023.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Bill 419, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Affirmative recommendation. Bill 423.
Bill 423, ordinance amending the Pittsburgh Code Title II, Fiscal Article 1, Administration, Chapter 21805, Capital Budget and Improvement Plan Project Authorization to require weekly written notice of grant applications to be read, received, and filed by City Council.
And Madam Clerk, can we please read 424 with that?
424, ordinance amending the Pittsburgh Code Title II, Fiscal Article 1, Administration, Chapter 219, Operating Budget, by revising Section 21903, Collaborative Budgeting Process to require weekly written notice of grant applications to be read, received, and filed by City Council.
Motion to approve, brief discussion.
Is there a second?
Second.
With discussion, Councilmember Warwick.
Yeah, sure. Do you want to come up? Just so, yeah, while they're coming up, so this is just amending an initial, so initially we amended the code so that we were getting emails of grants that we had applied for, but this, we've adjusted it some so that it will actually be in the record by having a receive and file, and I'll let you all explain the details of the process about how that's going to work every week.
Lene Lincoln, OMB Assistant Director for Operating and Special Revenue.
Melanie Ondeck, Grants Manager.
So specifically right now, we have an internal grants memo that is initialed by the grants office. The budget analyst that's responsible for the department that the grant project will fall under, and then it goes to our director for his sign off so that it's gone through the process. And then we've been sending that to council to alert to notification of application. And that could be at the exact time of application just because of the way that the timing of that works. The way this will work moving forward is we'll send a listing of grants. I think the time that we determine would be best is once we have a known project from the department that the grant would fall under, and the application will be moving forward. We plan to move forward with an application, and we will send you that list each week to be read, received, and filed with in the same way that like P card and invoices are filed as part of the agenda moving forward.
So everyone will have the most up-to-date information. So we just in the grants office have a weekly spreadsheet where we sort of keep track of everything that's happening, everything that's been submitted, everything that's been awarded or rejected. So y'all will have that information, and we think this is a good piece of legislation. I think it gives council and the public good visibility, and it also allows the city of Pittsburgh to remain competitive in our grant timelines and applications.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much. I appreciate the collaboration to get to a process that works for everybody. And yeah, I think this will be good. Just moving forward, on the one side, grants are a big part of our finances, right? And so it gives council that visibility, but also in a public way, so that if there are any questions that come up, we could look at that list, ask those questions at the time. And then also down the road, because sometimes it can take a long time for a grant actually to go through, then once we're voting at the end of the process on accepting those funds for a grant that we've won, should there be questions at that time, at least we can always point back and say, well, it was in that list, So it's sort of transparency from A to Z.
And I would like to thank you for reaching out to have us kind of have some input on the process so that it worked both for best ways. I think that was the way that got to a resolution that works best for both council side and in the grants office to be able to do their work, and for you guys to be aware of what's going on in the most seamless way possible. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure.
Any further discussion? I just want to thank you, council member, again, also for working closely with the grants office on this, and to the grants office, thanks for what you do. I know it's a big job to try to procure funding for all of the projects and keep those all the paperwork going to make sure that we're following up and then getting more grants as well. So thank you. With that, all those in favor of Bill 423 and 424, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Affirmative recommendation. Thank you. That moves us on to invoices. Do I have a motion to approve invoices?
So move.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of invoices, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Invoices are approved. P cards. All those in favor of approving P.
Motion to approve. Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of P cards, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
P cards are approved. That moves us on to Public Works and Infrastructure Committee chaired by Councilmember Warwick.
Bill 420, resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of the Department of Public Works to apply for grant funding from the Pennsylvania Department of Conservation and Natural Resources Community Conservation Partnerships Program to provide funding for the Spring Hill Park Rehabilitation Project. The grant proposal includes an ask of $562,605 with a match of $562,605 from the City of Pittsburgh's 2024 capital budget for a total project cost of $1,125,210 for this stated purpose.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Bill 420, please indicate by saying aye. Affirmative recommendation. Bill 421.
Bill 421, resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of the Department of Mobility and Infrastructure on behalf of the City of Pittsburgh to enter into an intergovernmental cooperation agreement with Pittsburgh Regional Transit for assistance with construction of a new bus shelter within the public right-of-way of Penn Avenue near the intersection of North St. Clair Street in the City of Pittsburgh.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Bill 421, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Affirmative recommendation. Bill 422.
Bill 422, resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of the Department of Mobility and Infrastructure to enter into an agreement or agreements with the Redevelopment Authority of Allegheny County for the purpose of receiving and spending grant funds in the amount of $100,000 to develop a transit plan in the West End.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Bill 422, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Thank you. Affirmative recommendation. That moves us on to Human Resources Committee chaired by Councilman Charlin.
Bill 417, resolution amending Resolution 309 of 2023, authorizing the mayor and the Commission on Human Relations to expand the agreement with Keen 360 to include 2 additional software licenses yearly by increasing the approved amount by $5,924.97 for an amended total cost not to exceed $59,865.72 over 5 years.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Bill 417, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Affirmative recommendation. That moves us on to Land Use and Economic Development Committee chaired by Councilman Wilson.
Deferred paper, Bill 277, ordinance amending the Pittsburgh Code Title IX Zoning Code, Article 4, Planning Districts, 908 Public Realm Districts, and 909.01 Specially Planned Districts, in Article 5 Use Regulations, Chapter 911 Primary Uses, Section 91102 Use Table, and Section 91104 Use Standards to remove the review of sidewalk cafes from the zoning code.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Councilmember Warwick.
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly, just to clarify a little. So what does it mean to remove it from the zoning code? Oh, do we have someone to speak to the, yeah. The only reason I'm asking is that I know that there are sometimes concerns with the placement of the sidewalk cafes, making sure that they're away from the wall so that wheelchair, for accessibility, and I just want to make sure that we're still doing that.
Yes,
Yeah,
so I can
okay.
clarify. So this legislation.
Can you introduce yourself and your...
Oh, yes. Paul Consillo, Principal Planner with the Department of City Planning. So I can clarify. So what this legislation does is remove zoning review. So right now, the situation is that both the Department of City Planning, the Department of Mobility and Infrastructure, and PLI, Permits, Licenses, and Inspections, we're all reviewing sidewalk cafes. But really, the DOMI regulations really address that concern that you're talking about with that distance between, say, where the seats are and where, say, like a bus stop shelter is. Like that clearance, those regulations stay, and those are something in the purview of DOMI.
Okay.
So.
That was my only question.
Councilmember Gross.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Would you give an example maybe of kind of something that might not have been zoned for a sidewalk cafe that planning would have been forced to reject, that if we remove it from zoning code and it only goes to DOMI and PLI would be allowable? Like, where is it currently not zoned for a sidewalk cafe?
So sidewalk cafes can only be, wherever an existing restaurant is able to be zoned for.
Which
Which would be, in the local neighborhood commercial, the different, in these cases, like the public realm districts, downtown, basically any commercial district, that's where restaurants are allowed. And so restaurants are allowed to have sidewalk cafes in those zones. So this doesn't change that. Basically, you can't have a sidewalk cafe where a restaurant isn't permitted, and that doesn't change with this legislation.
So an example of what is an example of what would change?
It's simply just the review process. So,
right, but the review process would have made you not allow sidewalk cafes in some places.
So
The current zoning.
Yeah.
Would have excluded sidewalk cafes.
Yeah, so that would still maintain. So like if someone, let's say in a residential district, wanted to put a sidewalk cafe, they would not be permitted to do so because that would still be considered a restaurant use. So that's where that would not be permitted.
So for example, if we had a corner store in a residential area.
If that residential area does not permit a corner store, it wouldn't permit.
But the corner store might be there.
So that would be if it was grandfathered in as a legally non-conforming use.
So we would have a corner store that wouldn't be currently, if we don't do this amendment, would not be zoned for sidewalk cafe. That if we remove it, would be zoned for sidewalk cafe.
It would be, no, if there...
So it's just irrelevant? It's just irrelevant whether we do this or not?
It's simply streamlining the review process.
So you never reject any sidewalk cafe applicants under zoning?
If they were associated with a use, whether it's a legally non-conforming use or a permitted use, that would not change. Like they would still be permitted to have a sidewalk cafe, both currently and with this passed.
Yeah, I just misunderstood that. So literally every single application under the current zoning rules gets approved.
Assuming they meet some of the standards about where they're allowed to be located, but again, that's something that those DOMI regulations apply as well. So now, rather than being like, it's essentially saying like, if the sidewalk cafe is so far from, the corner or where have you, that, we essentially we currently have a bunch of overlapping regulations between DOMI, and so it's like we're essentially saying both okay, even though really it only needs to go before DOMI to get the okay.
No, I understand that part. All right. No, I'm supportive. I just misunderstood. It seems like if there was zoning that said you're allowed to have them here but not there,
yes,
then we would be expanding the areas where they're allowed if we removed the zoning.
Correct, but that's not what we're doing. It's essentially where they're currently allowed now and where they're not allowed, that would not change.
Okay, great. That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Bill 426, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Affirmative recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Council President, 277. I got ahead of myself. New papers, Bill 426.
Bill 426, resolution further amending resolution number 886 of 2021, effective December 27, 2021, as amended, entitled Resolution Adopting and Approving the 2022 Capital Budget and the 2022 Community Development Block Grant Program, and a 2022 through 2027 capital improvement program by reducing Oakland Business Improvement District Innovate Pittsburgh Partnership by $5,000 and Steel City Boxing Association by $2,000, and increasing Pittsburgh National Youth Boxing by $7,000 and authorize subsequent agreements.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Bill 426, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Affirmative recommendation. That moves us on to Innovation, Performance, and Asset Management and Technology Committee chaired by Councilwoman Gross.
Bill 418, Resolution amending Resolution 317 of 2023, authorizing the mayor and the director of the Department of Innovation and Performance on behalf of the city of Pittsburgh to enter into an agreement, or agreements and amendments thereto with Monday.com, an online project management and portfolio management tool for use with multiple city departments by increasing the approved amount by $70,000 for an amended total cost not to exceed $244,000 over 4 years.
Motion to approve?
Just brief discussion.
Discussion, Councilman Charlin.
Just want to say our office has been taking advantage of Monday.com and our subscription there for a while. It's incredibly helpful, and if any other council members want to see our system, we'd be happy to show you. But I could not be more supportive of this software. It's been a game changer in our office.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Bill 418, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Affirmative recommendation. That moves us on to Intergovernmental and Educational Affairs Committee chaired by Councilman Mosley.
Bill 425, Resolution authorizing the mayor and council as a body to pay annual membership dues for 2024 to the Community Foundation for the Alleghenies for the Connect program at a cost not to exceed $6,891.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Bill 425, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Affirmative recommendation. Having exhausted our agenda fairly quickly today, moves us on to meeting announcements. Tomorrow, Thursday, May 9th.
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
Councilwoman Smith would like to hold the West End mobility plan. Can we go back and do that?
You just need a motion to reconsider.
So motion to reconsider, let me look, Bill.
Yeah, I don't remember that bill, actually.
yeah, it's in here.
With 422? No.
Looks like 0422.
Yeah, motion to reconsider 0422.
Second.
please.
So we have a motion and a second to reconsider Bill 422.
And then motion to hold, would she say 1 week?
1 week.
Got to vote on the reconsideration.
Oh, sorry.
All those in favor of motion to reconsider, please, Bill 422?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and then
Motion to hold 1 week, please.
motion to hold
Second.
and a second to hold Bill 422. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Bill 422 has been held for 1 week. Thank you. Okay, back to announcements. So, tomorrow, Thursday, May 9th at 1:30 p.m., Council will hold a cablecast public hearing on Bills 328 and 409 relative to the historic designations of Beth Abraham Cemetery and Veterans Memorial Parklet. Speaker registration will close at noon tomorrow. Next week, Council will hold the regular and standing committees meetings on Tuesday, May 14th and Wednesday, May 15th at 10 a.m. respectively. Registration ends at 9 a.m. the morning of each meeting. To register to speak at these council meetings and hearings, please fill out the sign-up form in its entirety on the council meeting webpage. You may also register by calling the city clerk's office at 412-255-2138. Anything from council members? Councilwoman Gross.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, I was going back and forth with the planning department yesterday about the deferred bill that was at the first bill on the agenda, the Equitable Development Trust Fund. It is very simple language, the way we talked about last week, but I feel like they're supportive, but we didn't kind of figure out exact wording. They're getting back to me, which, as you might have seen in your email box, they sent their draft guidelines. So I just merely suggested that we make the bill require that there be guidelines, And then when they're finished with the guidelines, they can like resubmit them for, approval. And it was just good for transparency that it be kind of in the legislative record. So I think by Tuesday, we'll just have a very simple written amendment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your work on that. Anything else from members? Seeing none, can we get a motion to excuse the absent members, approve the meeting and approve the minutes and adjourn the meeting?
So move.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.